About 80% of all orange cats are male. That's not a coincidence, it's the result of one tiny genetic difference. The very same gene also explains why calico cats are almost always female, why every orange cat has stripes, and why scientists spent more than a century trying to uncover the secret behind their coat color. But here's what's even more interesting. Many people believe orange cats are friendlier, noisier, and even a little less intelligent than other cats. Is any of that actually true? Today, we'll separate scientific fact from internet myth and uncover what really makes orange cats so fascinating. Why are most orange cats male? Have you ever noticed that most orange cats you meet are male? That's not just a coincidence. It's the way genetics works. An orange cat's coat color is controlled by a gene located on the X chromosome. Male cats have one X chromosome and one Y chromosome, so they only need to inherit a single copy of the orange gene from their mother to have an orange coat. Female cats, on the other hand, have two X chromosomes. To be completely orange, they usually need to inherit the orange gene from both parents. Since that combination is much less common, fully orange female cats are far rarer. That's why genetic studies estimate that around 80% of all orange cats are male. It's not because male cats are naturally friendlier or more adventurous. It simply comes down to how coat color genetics are inherited. So, if someone guesses that your orange cat is male, they're not just making a lucky guess. Statistically speaking, science is on their side. But this very same gene is also responsible for an even more fascinating mystery. It's the reason why calico cats are almost always female, and the science behind that is even more remarkable. Why are calico cats almost always female? If what we just covered is true, then you might be wondering, why are calico cats almost always female? The answer comes from the very same gene responsible for orange fur, but this time, the genetics become a little more complex. Calico cats have three different coat colors: orange, black, and white. For both orange and black fur to appear on the same cat, it must inherit both the orange gene and the black gene. Since these genes are located on the X chromosome, a cat needs two X chromosomes to carry both colors at the same time. But there's another fascinating twist. Early in embryonic development, every cell randomly switches off one of its two X chromosomes. Cells that keep the X chromosome carrying the orange gene produce orange fur, while cells that keep the X chromosome carrying the black gene produce black fur. This random process creates the distinctive patches of color that make every calico cat unique. This biological phenomenon is known as X chromosome inactivation. It was discovered decades ago and remains one of the classic examples used to teach mammalian genetics. In other words, every calico cat carries a one-of-a-kind genetic mosaic, a pattern that began forming during the earliest stages of life. But if calico cats are almost always female, does that mean male calico cats don't exist? Surprisingly, they do. But they're far rarer than most people realize. Do male calico cats really exist? It sounds impossible, but the answer is yes. Male calico cats do exist. They're just incredibly rare. In fact, it's estimated that only about 1 in every 3,000 calico cats is male. The reason lies in their chromosomes. Unlike most male cats, which have an XY chromosome pair, male calicos typically have an XXY chromosome pattern, meaning they carry an extra X chromosome. That additional X chromosome allows them to inherit both the orange and black coat color genes, making their distinctive calico pattern possible. But this rare genetic combination comes with a significant trade-off. Most male calico cats are sterile because the extra chromosome interferes with normal sperm production. It's a condition that's remarkably similar to Klinefelter syndrome in humans, where males are also born with an XXY chromosome pattern. So, if you've ever seen a male calico cat, you've witnessed one of the rarest genetic exceptions in the feline world. It's not just the coat color that makes these cats extraordinary, it's the unusual genetics hidden beneath it. But orange fur doesn't just lead to unusual patterns of inheritance. Until recently, scientists still didn't know which gene actually creates orange fur in the first place, a mystery that took more than a century to solve. It took scientists over 100 years to find the gene behind orange fur. For more than a century, scientists knew that orange fur was inherited through the X chromosome, but one question remained unanswered. Which gene actually creates an orange cat? Despite decades of advances in genetics, the answer remained frustratingly out of reach. It wasn't until recently, thanks to modern DNA sequencing and genetic studies involving thousands of cats, that researchers finally solved the mystery. Independent research teams identified a gene called ArchGap36 as the key player behind orange fur. They discovered that a genetic variant near this gene changes how pigment cells work, shifting them toward producing more pheomelanin, the pigment responsible for yellow and orange fur, instead of eumelanin, which creates black and brown fur. It's remarkable that a mystery which puzzled scientists for more than 100 years turned out to be the result of such a tiny change in DNA. And that discovery is helping researchers better understand not only coat color, but also how pigment cells develop in animals. But if genes determine a cat's coat color, what about its personality? Many people believe orange cats are friendlier, more playful, and even more talkative than other cats. Is there any science behind those claims, or are they simply myths that have spread across the internet? Are orange cats really friendlier than other cats? If you ask cat owners which cats have the friendliest personalities, there's a good chance they'll give you the same answer: orange cats. They're often described as affectionate, easygoing, and always wanting to be around their humans. But is that really something written into their DNA? Or is it simply a reputation that's grown over time? Interestingly, some owner surveys have found that orange cats are more likely to be described as friendly and sociable than cats of other colors. However, these surveys measure owners' perceptions, not objective differences observed in controlled behavioral studies. So far, scientists haven't found strong evidence that a cat's coat color determines its personality. According to feline behavior experts, temperament develops through a complex mix of genetics, early socialization, environment, and life experiences. While coat color may be associated with certain biological traits, there's currently no convincing evidence that it makes a cat inherently friendlier. So, if your orange cat happens to be incredibly affectionate, it's best to think of that as their unique personality, not a rule that applies to every orange cat. But there's another belief that's even more widespread. Many people insist that orange cats aren't just friendlier, they're also much more talkative. So, is there any science behind that? Are orange cats really more talkative? If you spend any time watching cat videos online, you've probably noticed a pattern. Orange cats are often shown meowing constantly, talking back to their owners, or making all kinds of hilarious sounds. It's easy to come away thinking that orange cats are naturally more vocal than every other cat. But the scientific evidence tells a different story. So far, no study has found a clear connection between a cat's coat color and how often it vocalizes. So why does this belief feel so convincing? One possible explanation comes from psychology. It's called confirmation bias, our tendency to notice and remember information that supports what we already believe. If you expect orange cats to be especially talkative, you'll naturally remember the noisy ones while overlooking the quiet ones. Over time, those selective memories reinforce the stereotype, even when the scientific evidence doesn't. That doesn't mean your orange cat isn't unusually chatty. It simply means that, based on what science knows today, talkativeness is far more likely to be an individual personality trait than something determined by coat color. But while coat color may not explain personality or how vocal a cat is, here's something you can check for yourself. Take a look at your orange cat or even a photo on your phone. You may notice one feature that's been there all along, without ever realizing it. Why are all orange cats tabbies? Orange cats come in many different shades, from pale cream to deep ginger, but no matter the shade, they all share one surprising feature. There are no truly solid orange cats. Every orange cat has a tabby pattern. Sometimes the stripes are bold and obvious. Other times they're so faint that you barely notice them. The reason lies in genetics. The orange gene determines the color of the fur, but it doesn't control the pattern. That's the job of a separate group of genes responsible for tabby markings. In orange cats, those markings are almost always present, even when they're difficult to see. That's why cats that appear to be solid orange still have subtle stripes. Under brighter lighting or after a shorter haircut, those hidden markings often become much more visible. Researchers even consider the tabby pattern to be an almost inseparable characteristic of orange cats. So the next time you see an orange cat, take a closer look at its legs, tail, or forehead. You may notice stripes that have been there all along. Now look a little closer. Can you spot the little M on your cat's forehead? Most people have seen it countless times without ever knowing why it's there. Why do orange cats have an M on their forehead? Look closely at an orange cat's face, and you'll probably notice a marking that looks remarkably like the letter M right in the center of its forehead. Many people think it's a special symbol unique to orange cats, and over the years, it has inspired countless myths and legends. The scientific explanation, however, is much simpler. That M isn't created by the orange coat itself. It's simply part of the tabby pattern. As the stripes run from the top of the head down between the eyes, they naturally form a shape that resembles the letter M. Since virtually all orange cats are tabbies, almost all of them have this distinctive marking. And it's not exclusive to orange cats. Brown, gray, and silver tabby cats usually have the same M as well. It simply stands out more on orange cats because the color contrast makes it easier to see. Despite the many stories surrounding this famous marking, there's no scientific evidence that it has any special meaning. It's simply a natural result of the tabby coat pattern. Transition. Here's one more thing to check. If your orange cat is getting older, take a look at its nose. Those tiny dark spots might not be dirt at all. Why do many orange cats develop freckles on their noses? If your orange cat is getting older, you may eventually notice tiny dark spots appearing on its nose, lips, eyelids, or even its gums. It's easy to assume they're a sign of a skin disease, but in most cases, they're completely normal. This condition is called lentigo. It happens when pigment-producing cells become more numerous in certain areas of the skin, causing small, dark spots to develop over time. Lentigo is most commonly seen in orange and cream-colored cats, and it tends to become more noticeable as they age. The good news is that lentigo isn't cancer, and it doesn't cause pain or discomfort. Veterinarians consider it a benign pigmentation change, much like freckles in humans. These spots usually appear gradually and don't require any treatment. However, if you notice a spot that's growing rapidly, bleeding, developing sores, or changing shape, that's a different situation. In those cases, having your cat examined by a veterinarian is always the safest choice. By now, you've probably noticed a fascinating pattern. From coat color and sex to tiny freckles on the nose, many of the traits that make orange cats unique can be explained by science. But one question still remains. What is it that truly makes orange cats so special? And the answer may have less to do with their genes than you think. What truly makes orange cats so special? We've uncovered the genetics behind their coat color, explained why most orange cats are male, and separated scientific facts from some of the internet's biggest myths. But one question still remains. What is it that truly makes orange cats so special? Today, scientists understand why orange cats look the way they do, and which gene gives them their distinctive coat color. Yet, when it comes to the traits people talk about most, whether they're friendlier, funnier, or somehow a little more chaotic, the evidence is still far from conclusive. Future research may uncover genetic variants that influence certain aspects of feline behavior. But based on what we know today, researchers believe every cat's personality is shaped by a combination of genetics, early experiences, environment, and everything that happens throughout its life. And perhaps that's the most fascinating discovery of all. Orange cats aren't special because they all fit the same stereotype. They're special because each one develops a personality that's entirely its own. Maybe that's why, even after science has explained so much about orange cats, they still manage to surprise us. So, the next time you see an orange cat, you'll see more than just an orange coat. You'll see the fascinating genetics behind it and the mysteries science is still trying to solve. If you have an orange cat, tell us one thing that makes them unique in the comments below. And if you enjoy science-based videos about cats, be sure to subscribe to Cat Decoded. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.